Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on this pale blue dot that we all live on. My name is Adamantium, and welcome to this edition of AAU TZM Podcast. I hope everyone out there is feeling well, and thank you all for tuning in, or clicking in as it were. Just the usual announcement, for those of you listening to this on YouTube right now, my podcast also exists on talkshoe.com. You can find a link to the call series in the video description down below. Just one more announcement. I'm actually very pleased to announce that AAU TZM Podcast now has a sponsor. So this podcast is brought to you by Apathetamol, the brand spanking new pharmaceutical product courtesy of Razor Pharma, the drug for those difficult times in your life when you have an activist trying to engage you in a good intellectual manner. You know, they'll try to engage you and encourage you to think critically. However, we know that the world will never change for the better, so why care, right? It's at these times when you need to be able to say loudly and proudly, I don't care, and spend the rest of the conversations dodging the bullets of logic. So ask your doctor about Apathetamol, the new drug that can get rid of life's little worries. Sweep it under the carpet. That's what I do, and you should too. Anyway, that's enough for these sponsors. On to the actual content of the podcast. Today, I'm very pleased to announce that Neil Kiernan of V Radio is back. So if you'd like to say hello again, Neil.
Hello.
Cool. It's really good to have you back on, dude. Because last time we were talking about how encountering this train of thought has influenced and changed your own personal worldview. But how would you say that encountering this train of thought has affected your friendships, your personal relationships, and, you know, any other people that you encounter in this life?
Well, I do remember talking about that. I'm trying to not repeat myself, although it's been a while since I listened to that podcast. But one of the main things I think that I would bring up, and I hope I didn't really get too much into this last time, because, like I said, it's been a while, but was the fact that, you know, initially when I used to have only one Facebook account, and people were basically like, you know, hey, I don't want to see this political activist stuff all over my wall, you know, please stop doing it, blah, blah, blah. I was like, all right. So I just decided to make another Facebook account, and that's the one that, you know, I invite activists now to. So basically what I found, though, over time was that I've managed to kind of throw a couple of comments in here or there about, you know, whatever was going on, you know, in the moment. Because obviously everybody talks about politics a little bit on their wall. I think that they were just overwhelmed with just how much of it generally comes out of my Facebook interactions. And it eventually had a serious
coherent
impact.
Message.
Well,
yeah.
Right. And I think that what's funny is like, a little while ago, there was this video that got circulated that was just about wealth inequality and just how out of control it is. And it ended up being a video that I shared on my activist page. And it was posted by somebody who's a good friend of mine who is just slowly starting to encounter all of the things that I predicted were going to be happening in our local Michigan economy. And I commented to him, I was like, well, that's interesting. This looks like something that you would have complained about being on your wall, you know, not more than a couple of years ago. Honestly, I think especially here in Michigan, because of the state of things are definitely a lot different, you know, in that people are already starting to see it here. So as far as it affecting my friendships, it's actually becoming the dialogue that is far more common than it used to be. You know, it's starting to come around. I mean, it used to be something I didn't talk with my friends about, and now it's starting to become something I talk with my friends about. And it's actually one of the reasons why I said to people that, you know, recently who are counting numbers and all that as far as like who they think is in the movement or who isn't in the movement or how big the movement is or whatever, these kinds of conversations are becoming mainstream. You know, and that I think is a kind of growth that's not going to be measured in web analytics of who's visiting websites, because it's getting into the dialogue all around. Just the other day, actually, I was at work, and a lot of my friends are, you know, just, I mean, most of the conversations that you have at work are about video games or, whatever the last episode of Walking Dead was, or, things like that. But it's starting to make its way into the dialogue at work even. People are commenting about, what does the government need all those assault rifles for? And, there's a Fox News TV that's playing like pretty much all the time at the place I work at. And virtually everybody who works there now just shakes their head at it every now and then when they look on there, because I pointed out that it's like the I Hate Obama channel. It's as if it's a cable network that's just dedicated to I Hate Obama. And I don't care for Obama either. It's just, holy crap, that's all they talk about. It's like, how can we twist this to make the president look bad? How can we twist that to make it look bad? It's just all they talk about all day long. It's like as soon as Romney lost, it was like, what's his name? I'm gonna shoot myself for forgetting his name. The fellow who owns all of the Fox stuff, Rupert Murdoch. Just like said, all right, well, from now on we're the We Hate Obama channel, and that's just all they do all day long. And lots of my friends were noting that was the case, and even the ones who are not Obama fans were like, yeah, it is getting a little ridiculous. Just little conscious things that are starting to spring up. I. For example, have never posted any Storm Clouds Gathering videos on my main Facebook, and then I stumbled across some of them on my friends' Facebooks. These are people I never told about Storm Clouds Gathering, and then all of a sudden they're on their Facebooks. I'm like, yeah, it's funny that you're listing this. It's pretty good, huh? He's like, yeah, this guy seems pretty smart. I'm like, yep, I talk to him all the time.
And I told you about him maybe 2 years ago, but you told me to fuck off.
Well, right, and that's, honestly, I think that overall, though, it's been good. And it's starting to become something that we discuss more of. In fact, I can't really say, with very few exceptions, like obviously I had this friend, former friend now, I don't talk to him anymore, was in the military, and he didn't really care for some of the stuff I was posting. I just said, okay, well, I'm sorry if you feel that way. If you don't like it, here, you can watch this. And I posted the How to Create an Angry American video.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a powerful video.
He being an Iraq War veteran who is currently back and forth from being deployed in Afghanistan, didn't really like it very much, and I ended up removing him from my Facebook page because I just was like, all right, well, if you're going to go on and try to justify the bullshit that's going on in these, in the American foreign policy, I'm not really interested in your opinion anymore. Have a nice day.
Yeah. I think anyone who can at least try and justify, the American foreign policy after watching that video, is at least at this point in time, you can't really talk to them, really.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that's, and that's a funny one that really makes the people who are Republicans mad. And especially because that's the other thing that, I generally have to point out to people is that I'm watching how the Republicans are systematically just blaming everything that's going on right now on Obama, and I've watched how so many people who voted for George Bush are so their memory is absent of who made all of those foreign policy decisions. I'm like, you're pretty upset about this NDAA thing, aren't you? Okay, well, you do remember the Patriot Act, right? You're pretty upset about these drones. You don't like that at all. Well, you do remember that Mitt Romney made it very clear during the debates, under no uncertain terms, that he was totally going to continue the drone program and thought it was great, right?
Yeah.
And once again, I don't like either of them. If I was a part of any political affiliation at this point, it would be, green, but it doesn't change the fact that it's amazing to watch how these people just, go back and forth and left and right and back and forth, just arguing and blaming and pointing fingers at each other, and nobody is paying attention to what's actually going on. They don't realize that. And I have a friend, for example, who dabbles in conspiracy theories, another one of the people who recently kind of went over to that side, and he kind of hits the conspiracy theory thing from the right perspective. He's very conservative because he was somebody who liked Bush before, and I've had to it took me a long time to get him off that kick and it involved doing things like making him sit down and watch, How to Create an Angry American. The first time I showed it to him, he just blew it off. And then the second time, he's like, which was more recently, he's like, okay, yeah, I'm starting to get what you mean, et cetera. And I'm like, that was my point, dude, is like, it's not to say that Obama is great. It's that the fact that you think that, attacking Obama will fix everything, so let's just elect a Republican is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, you're not thinking things through.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge false dichotomy, really. I mean, it's like one of the shows that I love watching is The Atheist Experience, and some of the attacks that the Christians who ring up on that show try to say that because I think there was one, she was calling them Satan worshippers, and they're like, we don't believe in Satan. We think Satan is just as made up as God. And they're like, well, you have to believe in Satan if you don't believe in God. It's just ridiculous. It's like, it's not one or the other. There's so many other options out there. If you want to believe in a deity or something, you are spoiled for choice. I mean, come on, there's even, his noodly goodness, the flying spaghetti monster. Come on, seriously.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I completely understand how, that sort of just left or right thinking just completely paralyzes people. It really does. And, it does send shockwaves through social circles as well. I mean, one of the things that I've been thinking about over the last couple of months, as, a few more people have fallen out of contact with me, I've been thinking that, the very act of being an activist, if that actually makes any sense, does preclude that you will lose some friends. So, I mean, how, would you say that you've lost more friends than you've expected, or less?
Because of activism, I can't really say that I've lost any friends. Not specifically because of activism. I think it's largely, though, that I kind of, in my personal interactions, I kind of feel things out. And I guess, well, for one thing, I'm not in any way hesitant to just kick somebody out of my life if they're not, like, they don't have to agree with everything or anything like that. I'm just saying, if there's somebody that's just like a sheep, I can't stand to be around them. Like, it's just, when I can tell that somebody's that, I mean, it just, I can't be myself around them, and that's pretty much a guaranteed indication that I don't really want them around. And that's not just about, about activism. It's just about anything. Like, even in just my normal day-to-day, interactions with people. I just don't keep people like that around. Mostly because I've found that, you start hanging out with those kinds of people, you find yourself not thinking to your full potential. You find yourself, because essentially, some of that stuff is all based on the pack instinct, and you have to be very careful about who you let in your pack, so to speak. And that's basically, I think, to me, overall, anybody, I guess that's another thing let me point out, is that my idea about what the definition of friends are is different, I think, than most people's.
I suppose I'm probably using